President Cyril Ramaphosa says that the Public Enterprises Ministry will cease to exist in the next administration. Well, he made these comments during his question and answer session held in Parliament, and this has raised the question of where exactly the SOEs would then be placed. And one option is to place them under a holding company. But to discuss this further, I'm now joined by governance expert Dr Sam Qoma this afternoon. Dr Qoma, thank you so much for your time. Good afternoon to you. Your reaction to, I suppose, firstly, the announcement by the President that the Public Enterprise Ministry would cease to rather exist in the next administration.
Oh yeah, thanks to Melo. Yes, according to me, this is a progressive move which the government has decided to look into, and also it's a step in the right direction. And the reason I'm saying that is that if you look at 3 SOEs that fall within the ambit of the Department of Public Enterprises, they are all facing serious governance deficiencies and also lapses. We look at ESCOM, for example. In a period of 4 years, it had 2 boards due to lack of stability at the board level. The first board was dissolved last year by the Minister of Public Enterprises. We now have a new board chaired by Mr. Mpoma, and also you have a CEO who was appointed by the previous board, but he could not see out his 5-year term. That is Mr. Andre de Ruyter. You go to Dinel, you have Dinel, that is a going concern. It's an entity that relies on government funding to survive and also to stay afloat. It's an entity that till today consistently is failing to pay salaries due to employees. Then you take SAA, the South African Airways, the airline, which was also placed under business rescue until it secured a strategic equity partner, that is Takatso. But till today, Takatso cannot also manage to secure the 2 billion rand that is required to ensure that the airline also operates efficiently and also effectively. But it's an airline that has failed over 6 years to produce audited annual financial statements. So on the basis of these 3 SOEs already, I think this is a good decision that has been taken by the government and, of course, pronounced by the President yesterday during the Q&A.
So, Doc, considering the inefficiencies that you've identified, is it a matter of the problem lying with, the officials appointed, the board, governance issues, or is it the entire ministry and department that's a problem?
Yes, you're right, Dumelo. A combination of issues. But you remember the DPME through the minister serves as a government shareholder in all the 3 SOEs. The minister is the one who drives the process of the nomination and also the final appointment of the board members, of course, through ratification by cabinet. Now, with the previous ESCOM board, you remember there were calls already around 2018 that you have a board that comprises of individuals who lack the necessary expertise, knowledge in the energy sector. And of course, that was demonstrated by its failure to provide a clear oversight role over the executive, which is the management. And that led to the dissolution of that board last year. We now have a new board comprising of relatively capable, knowledgeable individuals. Of course, it remains to be seen whether they will be able to stabilize the entity in terms of ensuring that it secures energy stability in the country and also addressing some of the governance challenges facing the entity. So South African Airways, remember these 3 boards already are implicated in the Zondo Commission's final report on allegations of state capture, fraud and corruption. And that tells us that there are serious issues that faces these SOEs, and we need decisive intervention and turnaround in terms of ensuring that we get these companies to operate effectively and also efficiently.
So then, Doc, in your view, where do we then place SOEs? Where do you think then do we place them for that oversight that's still equally important around its governance?
Yes, so what is going to happen is that we already have the SOE Council that was appointed by the President in 2021 that oversees the entire state-owned companies. They've proposed that government should set up a holding company. And this is what the President was trying to clarify yesterday. So these SOEs will now fall under a holding company, thus effectively rendering the Department of Public Enterprises redundant and irrelevant. So that is the reason that the President says at the end of the day, once we have all these processes in place, DPE will then cease to exist. So you will now have the holding company assuming an oversight role over these crucial state-owned companies that play a very crucial and significant role in the economic space of our country.
I remember, Dr. Qoma, one of the criticism that came out after the President's cabinet reshuffle was one of a bloated executive. I think the disappointment with most critics was that the President had promised that there would not be a bloated cabinet, but an effective one at that. Was he perhaps listening? Could this be one of the solutions to address that issue of a bloated executive?
Yes, the President, in fact, when he came into office in 2018, already he committed himself that he's going to make it a point that he reduces the size of the cabinet. It's bloated. It has to operate and run optimally. But with the recent reshuffle, of course, some of us were looking forward to the phasing out of some of these ministries due to cross-cutting issues, duplications in certain areas. And in fact, if you follow the statement released by the President, when he announced the changes, he said he's going to exercise his constitutional discretion to transfer functions from the Ministry of Energy, which is the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, and also Department of Public Enterprises, to this new Minister of Electricity. So over time, it means the two ministers will no longer have and assume any meaningful and significant political authority over the running of these SOEs. So effectively saying we may end up phasing out these two ministries.
Well, I appreciate you adding your voice to this conversation and debate, and thank you so much for your time. Governance expert Dr. Sam Qoma, thank you for joining us right here on All Angles.